graduation trip, but the homeroom teacher took our entire class to a deserted island, under the scorching sun. The homeroom teacher forced me to stay and pack up the whole class's tents, while taking the girls to swim at the beach. I protested, dragging my sore arms, but the homeroom teacher kicked me in the back of the leg. "Are you even a man? What's the big deal about helping the girls with some work?" As I watched them play and drift away. A bloody barrage of text suddenly exploded before my eyes. "Still setting up tents here. The midnight zombie horde is about to land, and a single bite from a zombie will turn you into one." At night, zombies' sense of smell and hearing become enhanced, leaving humans with nowhere to hide. Fortunately, the bus has been modified by the military. Its glass is bulletproof and soundproof, and there is food and water inside. Survive for 7 days, and a lifeboat will pass by the abandoned dock. The moment the barrage disappeared, the sound of bones crunching and chewing came from behind the reef. 01. The chewing was rough, sticky, with the wet sensation of tearing raw flesh. All the hairs on my body stood on end, not out of fear, but from some indescribable excitement. My homeroom teacher, Song Wen-yuan, was wearing floral shorts, sunglasses, and a beer belly, walking toward the beach with a group of girls whose smiles were as bright as flowers. "Chin Chang, you little rascal, hurry up. We're having a bonfire party tonight. If you delay the class's schedule, just wait and see how I deal with you," the homeroom teacher shouted at me from a distance, his tone quite arrogant. Beside him, the class beauty Su Xiaoya giggled as she linked arms with the class monitor Zhou Wenwen, turning back to make a funny face at me. I knew exactly what Song Wen-yuan was up to. He wanted to show off his gentlemanly demeanor in front of the girls again. Trying to dump all the heavy and exhausting tasks like setting up the camp and carrying supplies on me. I spent my entire college life under oppression. I was the only boy in the class, and our homeroom teacher, Song Wen-yuan, always used the excuse that boys should contribute more and take care of the girls to exploit me, treating me like free labor. During every class activity, the most tiring and dirtiest tasks were always assigned to me. If I complained even slightly, he would publicly call me out and criticize me, saying things like, "Chin Chang, look at you, you have no sense of masculinity at all. How do you expect to make it in society in the future?" The girls would also join in, isolating and mocking me. At the beginning of the semester, to establish his authority, Song Wen-yuan made me carry the entire class's teaching supplies under the scorching sun. Those dozens of boxes of books and lab equipment left me gasping for breath. I collapsed from exhaustion, but Song Wen-yuan accused me of faking illness, and the girls chimed in, saying I was weak and not manly enough. Their words were like knives, stabbing deep into my heart, but I endured it all. As long as I could get my diploma, I could take over the family business and never have to put up with these people again. The soreness in my body had already gone numb. I just watched their retreating figures coldly. Just moments ago, I clearly heard the chewing sounds from behind the reef, mingled with the warnings from the red barrage. "Still setting up tents here. The midnight zombie horde is about to land, and a single bite from a zombie will turn you into one of them." At night, zombies' sense of smell and hearing are enhanced, leaving humans with nowhere to hide. The bus has been modified by the military, with bulletproof and soundproof glass, and there is food and water inside. Survive for 7 days, and a lifeboat will pass by the abandoned pier. I cautiously walked behind the reef, my stomach churned violently. A decaying zombie was crouching beside a human corpse, greedily devouring the flesh and blood. Is what the barrage said true? Zombies, hordes of the undead. An unprecedented sense of joy and excitement began to grow within me. I didn't feel the slightest bit of fear, on the contrary. A forbidden surge of joy and excitement instantly welled up in my heart. Those scumbags will soon pay the price for what they've done. I took a deep breath and quietly slipped onto the bus parked next to the camp. The keys were in the ignition, but instead of driving away immediately, I locked all the doors from the inside, drew all the curtains, leaving only a barely visible gap. After doing all this, I hid inside the bus, quietly waiting for the zombie horde to arrive. I want to see their despair with my own eyes. Watch them get torn apart by those zombies. 02. After calming down, I began to inspect the condition of the bus. The fuel is sufficient, the water tank is almost full, and the power system is supplied by the solar panels on the roof, which can last for a long time. Behind the driver's cabin, there is a small rest area where the seats can be flattened to form a simple bed. I threw myself onto it and rolled around comfortably. On this bus, I didn't even have a place to sit. The girls took up all the empty seats, piling their luggage everywhere, leaving me to stand in the aisle. The storage compartment contained emergency supplies, compressed biscuits, canned meat, and so on. The seats were occupied by the girls' bags, stuffed with all kinds of imported snacks, drinks, and bottled water. These snacks were bought by Song Wen-yuan for all the girls in the class before the trip, except for me. I was so upset that I bought a large amount of snacks with my own money. But Song Wen-yuan demanded that I hand them over to be shared freely with the other girls. Of course, I refused, and as a result, Song Wen-yuan publicly scolded me, calling me greedy and lazy and lacking in gentlemanly manners. Not a single girl in the class spoke up for me. Instead, they swarmed over and snatched away my snacks. Now, the entire bus belongs to me. What they took will naturally be returned. And not only that, I'm going to take theirs too. The sky gradually darkened. I glanced at the campsite not far away and saw Song Wen-yuan and the others shivering from the cold, fumbling in the dark as they hurriedly set up their tents. Soon, the phone rang. It was Song Wen-yuan calling. I sneered coldly and answered the call. Song Wen-yuan's furious roar came through the phone. "You brat, I told you to set up the tent. Where did you run off to slack?" Beside him, the class beauty Su Xiaoya's sweet, coquettish voice chimed in. "Chin Chang. Hurry to the car and bring over the water and snacks. We're tired from playing and so thirsty and hungry. Bring our bags along too." Class monitor Zhou Wenwen also commanded in an imperative tone. "Did you hear me?" Song Wen-yuan's roar exploded once again. "If you're not here within 5 minutes, drop and do 100 push-ups on the spot." I laughed. They still haven't figured out the situation. Now, it's not me you should be worried about suffering, then just wait. With that, I hung up the phone, slowly uncorking the bottle of red wine. I poured myself a glass of 1982 Lafite. Finding a seat by the window, I sat down and munched on potato chips while fiddling with Su Xiaoya's Switch console, all while watching the teachers and classmates suffering in the distance. Song Wen-yuan, seeing that I hadn't shown up for a long time, grumbled and led Su Xiaoya and the others toward the bus. "Damn it, where the hell has Chin Chang gone?" He took out the spare car key but found the door wouldn't budge. "Shit, why is the door locked?" Song Wen-yuan kicked the door in frustration. Su Xiaoya called out in a delicate voice from the side. "Chin Chang, are you in there? Open the door quickly." I didn't respond, just to keep them anxiously waiting outside. The phone rang frantically. After waiting a full 10 minutes or so, I picked up the phone again. And Song Wen-yuan's anxious and angry voice came through. "Chin Chang, are you fucking hiding in the car? Open the damn door for me now." I chuckled lightly. "I'm not opening it. What are you going to do about it?" Zhou Wenwen, being a clever person, immediately spoke up to soothe him. "Chenzi, be good now. Don't throw a tantrum. Hurry up and open the car door." Song Wen-yuan, however, was furious. "Why are you being so polite with him?" "Chin Chang, I'll count to 3. And if you don't open the door, I'll make sure you don't graduate." But threats of that level didn't scare me at all. I actually laughed out loud. Song Wen-yuan asked me what was so funny. I replied, "If I don't graduate, then I won't graduate. At worst, I'll drop out and inherit billions. Anyway, you only care about those girls. Take your harem and fend for yourselves on a deserted island." The other end suddenly fell silent. The homeroom teacher seemed not to have expected that I, who had always been submissive, would dare to say such a thing. After a long pause, he finally managed to spit out, "You're fucking asking for it. 03. At that moment, Su Xiaoya's exclamation came through the phone. "Teacher, I saw some strange words. Midnight zombie horde. Zombies. Hurry back to the bus. As long as we hold out on the bus for 7 days, there will be a lifeboat at the abandoned pier." Hearing this, I frowned. Could Su Xiaoya also see the bullet comments? However, the bullet comments she saw seemed to be delayed. I had already known about this important information for quite some time. However, since they also know that the bus is a safe house, they will definitely try every means to break in. If they get on the bus, I have no doubt that I will be kicked off. They might even use me as bait to lure away the zombies and then take the chance to escape themselves. After enduring 4 years of hardship, I am well aware of my status in their eyes. Once during a class gathering, Su Xiaoya pretended to be kind and gave me a piece of grilled meat. I happily picked it up and was about to eat it when she accidentally dropped it on the floor. Then, while making a tsk tisk tisk sound at me, she lured me to crouch down like a dog and eat it off the ground. Song Wen-yuan and the classmates in the class burst into laughter, and not a single person spoke up for me. That night, I hid under the covers in the dormitory and cried my heart out. Suddenly, I realized that I didn't need to see them as companions anymore. The bullet comments appeared again. At 6 in the evening, the horde of zombies landed on schedule. At this moment, it was less than 10 minutes to 6. The car could be driven away, but the visibility at night was very low, combined with the enhanced sense of smell and hearing of the zombies. Who knew how many zombies would come chasing after the car? I didn't want to become a living target. I quickly stood up, rummaged through the toolbox for nails and steel plates, reinforced the doors and windows all around, and sealed the gaps with strong adhesive. After doing all this, I finally breathed a sigh of relief, pulled down all the car curtains to completely isolate myself from the outside, then turned on the heater and made myself a bowl of luocefen. Then I took out my phone, randomly played a downloaded zombie movie, and lay comfortably on the soft seat, enjoying this long-lost peace and relaxation. At midnight, a piercing scream tore through the night sky, followed by more people's screams and cries. I jolted upright and pulled open a gap in the curtain. I saw Song Wenyuan, Su Xiaoya, and Zhou Wenwen frantically pounding on the car window. Not far away, zombies surged toward the campsite like a tide. Tents were torn apart in an instant, the girls' piercing screams rising and falling in the night, blood staining the tents crimson, and dismembered limbs scattered everywhere. The entire campsite had become a living hell. Checking the class group chat, it's all voice messages from Song Wenyuan and the other two, Zhou Wenwen, Chen Chang. Please, let us in, it's all zombies outside. Song Wenyuan, you little brat, how dare you block the car, open the door now, or I'll kill you when I get in. Su Xiaoya, Chen Chang, you're so heartless to just stand by and watch us die, you'll pay for this. I threw my phone aside. I slowly cleaned up the leftover trash, washed my face with drinking water, lay down on the soft seat bed, and continued watching the zombie movie I hadn't finished. 04. Over the years, Su Xiaoya and Zhou Wenwen, taking advantage of Song Wenyuan's favor, have bullied me quite a bit. Once, for a professional course group presentation, I spent 3 days carefully preparing the PPT. Su Xiaoya suddenly leaned over and said, Chen Chang, this animation effect you made is really good, can I take a look? Just as I stood up to give her my seat, she accidentally deleted my source files and even emptied the recycle bin. Oops, she covered her mouth in surprise, tilting her head to show an innocent smile. I think I clicked something wrong, but you're so skilled, it shouldn't take long to redo it, right? Song Wenyuan laughed on the podium. Xiaoya doesn't even know how to use a computer, her clumsy look is really adorable. My thoughts returned to the present. The zombie horde closed in on the bus. Song Wenyuan and the other two panicked and ended up climbing a large banyan tree. Fortunately, the bus had excellent sound insulation and camouflage effects. The zombie horde didn't notice me, instead growling at that large banyan tree. I opened the car sunroof a little and faintly heard voices talking in the trees. Su Xiaoya's voice was weak and frightened. Teacher, what should we do? The zombies are surrounding us and won't leave. Song Wenyuan comforted her. It's okay, zombies can't climb trees, Su Xiaoya, but I'm so hungry, so thirsty. Look, there are fruits on the tree, Zhou Wenwen exclaimed in surprise. Song Wenyuan was the first to pick a fruit and stuff it into his mouth, shouting excitedly, it's edible, it's sweet. Su Xiaoya and Zhou Wenwen also began to devour them ravenously. Su Xiaoya didn't forget to show off in the class group chat, taking a photo of the fruit as if trying to tempt me. Chen Chang, did you see, we found something to eat, if you open the door now, we might consider sharing some with you. I looked at the phone screen and almost laughed out loud. At that moment, the bullet comments appeared again, warning, consuming mutated fruits will infect you with corpse poison. And even immortals would find it hard to save you. Survivors have antivenom serum that can suppress the corpse poison, but it requires a large amount of supplies in exchange. Survivors, this information makes me wary. I suspect there are no good people among these so-called survivors. Rather than dealing with them, I'd prefer to find a sparsely populated area to endure these 7 days. I've made up my mind to leave as soon as it gets light tomorrow, just as I was about to lie down to sleep. I heard Su Xiaoya say from outside, Teacher Song, doesn't our bus have a one-touch car finding function? If Chen Chang won't open the door, then let him die. She pressed the button with a laugh, and the bus's sharp horn blared through the sky. That venomous woman, she couldn't get in, so she wanted to attract all the zombies to perish together with me. Ha ha ha, Chen Chang, you're good at hiding, aren't you? Let's see how long you can keep hiding. Su Xiaoya's maniacal laughter came from the tree. The zombies wandering in the distance were drawn by the alarm, roaring as they surged toward the bus from all directions. Bang, bang, bang. Countless rotting hands slapped against the car body and windows, causing the vehicle to shake violently. If this continued, no matter how sturdy the bus was, it would eventually be breached. Do you want meat to eat? My eyes fell on the disinfectant in the corner, and an idea formed in my mind. I dug out a pile of canned beef, pried them open, and poured the contents into the bucket of disinfectant. Holding my breath, I stirred it frantically. Then, I climbed up to the sunroof and threw the bucket of meat soup toward Song Wenyuan and the other two. The horde of corpses caught the scent of meat and stopped attacking the bus, instead rushing one after another toward the large banyan tree. Up in the tree, Su Xiaoya's laughter abruptly ceased. Chen Chang, are you insane? You're feeding all this meat to these beasts. Go away, go bite Chen Chang, he has meat to eat. Su Xiaoya panicked, frantically pressing the car find button on her key. Unfortunately, the pork barrel was more appealing to them. I threw the remaining cans of meat at the tree where the three were hiding. Although I couldn't hit them, it was still satisfying to annoy them and vent my anger. The three of them clung to the swaying tree trunk and screamed all night long. 05. At dawn, I groggily woke up from my dream. I pulled back the car curtain to look. Most of the zombies had been poisoned to death. The 3 people in the tree were extremely weak, especially Su Xiaoya, whose face was flushed and she couldn't stop trembling. I'm so hot. I feel terrible. Song Wenyuan touched her forehead, his face pale. You have a fever. The fever reducer is in the car. I glanced at my phone. Zhou Wenwen, Su Xiaoya has a fever. Can you give us the fever reducer, Su Xiaoya, Chen Chang? We really know we were wrong. We're classmates after all. Please save me. I slowly pulled back the curtain, expressionlessly took a box of fever-reducing medicine from the storage box, shook it in front of them, and then slowly put it back. Song Wenyuan's face instantly turned the color of pig liver, his eyes filled with venomous hatred. Song Wenyuan, Chin Chang, don't you fucking push your luck. You'll regret this. Just then, several figures appeared in the distant woods. They were sallow and emaciated, their eyes like those of hungry wolves, holding machetes and steel pipes in their hands, with a shotgun slung on their backs. Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya were stunned for a moment, then erupted into wild joy as if they had narrowly escaped death. Hey, over here, help! Song Wenyuan waved his arms desperately. Su Xiaoya understood immediately and shouted, pointing at my bus, quick, smash the car open. There's food and medicine inside. I cursed them as idiots in my heart. Did they think survivors would be good people? When their gazes swept over Su Xiaoya and Zhou Wenwen, their eyes were filled with lecherous desire. However, the temptation of survival supplies was clearly greater. After exchanging glances, the group charged toward the bus. Bang! The shotguns fired simultaneously, instantly covering the bulletproof glass with a spiderweb of cracks, but ultimately failing to penetrate it. Damn it, it's bulletproof. The survivor leader cursed angrily. Everyone, attack together, smash it. Machetes and steel pipes rained down on the vehicle, while Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya in the tree cheered wildly. I immediately turned the key, and the bus surged forward like a frenzied steel beast. One of the survivors was instantly sent flying high into the air by the massive front of the bus, crashing heavily to the ground without another sound. Then, I sharply turned the steering wheel, causing the rear of the bus to swing out in a wide arc, and the heavy wheels rolled directly over another survivor. The sound of bones cracking, crunch, clearly reached my ears. Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya cursed loudly. Chin Chang, you lunatic, murderer. I turned a deaf ear, driving the bus recklessly. In the chaos, 2 survivors, seeing that they couldn't get close to the bus, sneered and turned around, climbing up that banyan tree. Zhou Wenwen let out a piercing scream. What are you doing? Get away from me. The survivor covered her mouth and roughly dragged her deep into the dense thicket. Her cries for help soon faded, leaving only the sound of torn clothing and the men's lewd laughter. Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya were terrified out of their wits, trembling uncontrollably in the tree. I withdrew my gaze and slowly brought the car to a stop. There wasn't a trace of guilt in my heart. This is what they deserved. I turned the car around and headed toward the final escape direction indicated by the barrage, the abandoned beach swarming with zombies. Although it's dangerous there, places with more zombies are actually easier to shake off human entanglements. The bus roared away. From the rearview mirror, I saw Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya trembling as they climbed down from the tree, only to be caught by the survivors. Su Xiaoya screamed for Song Wenyuan to save her, but he was pinned to the ground with a foot on his head, completely unable to resist. I snorted coldly, leaving the 2 despairing individuals far behind, probably because the vehicle was too sturdy. I encountered almost no obstacles along the way. Occasionally, a few zombies drawn by the noise were all crushed into piles of minced meat. I parked the car next to a cave. The terrain here was relatively high, offering a view overlooking the entire beach. Over the next few days, no one sent any more messages in the class group chat, and I lived an unprecedentedly leisurely life. Plenty of food and water, a comfortable bed, movies, and novels. It's just like being on vacation. In just a few days, I feel like I've gained 3 pounds. However, just as I was counting down the days to go home, 2 staggering figures suddenly appeared on the distant beach. It's Song Wenyuan and Su Xiaoya. They just look even more disgusting than zombies, covered in filth, with purplish black patches and festering sores all over their skin, clearly indicating that the corpse poison has penetrated deep into their bones. They're actually still alive. I noticed that Su Xiaoya is holding a shotgun in her hand, which looks like it was taken from a survivor. They saw the bus and were first overcome with wild joy, which then turned into deep-seated hatred. Su Xiaoya dragged the gun, swaying as she pointed it at me, but she didn't fire. I understood immediately. That gun had no bullets. It could only scare me. Under my gaze, Song Wenyuan made a move I never expected. Dragging his decaying body, he staggered to a spot several dozen meters away from the bus, then with a thud, dropped to his knees and kowtowed heavily in my direction. 06. This earth-shattering kneel was utterly ridiculous. The teacher who once looked down on me and treated me like dirt is now kneeling before me like a dog. I opened the car's sunroof, and their desperate voices came through clearly. Chin Chang, classmate Chin, Song Wen-yuan was crying uncontrollably, with no trace of the dignity a teacher should have. I was wrong. I shouldn't have treated you that way. I don't deserve to be your teacher. I beg you, have mercy, give me some food. Give me some water to drink. He cried out with tears streaming down his face, not forgetting to drag Su Xiaoya beside him into it. Xiaoya knows she was wrong too. We've been living a life worse than death these past few days. Zhou Wenwen, she's already dead. We saw with our own eyes how those people dragged her away. And then, Chin Chang, you're the only person we can rely on now. Su Xiaoya immediately played along, crying as if her heart would break. Yes, Chin Chang, we're classmates after all. On this island now, we're like family. Could you please open the door and let us in? I can wash your clothes, cook for you, I can do anything. Listening to their clumsy performance, one echoing the other, I felt nothing but a chill running down my spine. I'm family. I knew in my heart that Zhou Wenwen's death was probably not as simple as it seemed, in the chaotic situation before, given Su Xiaoya's selfish and self-serving nature. She probably pushed Zhou Wenwen out as a shield with her own hands in order to secure an escape opportunity for herself and Song Wen-yuan. As I muttered to myself, the long-awaited bullet comments flashed again. The corpse poison has invaded the bone marrow of both individuals. Even if they leave the deserted island, there is no cure, and they will inevitably die. The lifeboat will arrive at the abandoned dock at midnight tonight. This is the only chance to escape. Seeing this comment, the last trace of hesitation in my heart vanished. Since they're going to die sooner or later anyway, I don't mind using them as trash cans to dispose of the nearly expired garbage in my car. It's a way to make the most of things. I took out a few rotten bananas with blackened peels and a can of spoiled beef that had leaked and gone bad. Then I took off my shoes and socks, soaked my feet in half a basin of water, and poured that murky, foul-smelling foot-washing water into an empty plastic water bottle. I stuffed all these things into a trash bag, opened the sunroof, and threw it down under their hopeful gazes. Su Xiaoya pounced on it like a starving beast, tearing open the bag. When she saw what was inside, her face, covered in festering sores, twisted with rage. Rotten bananas, spoiled canned food. Chin Chang, what the hell do you mean by this? Are you treating us like trash cans? She screamed, pounding on the car body in helpless fury. We need bread, biscuits, clean water. Do you hear me? Song Wen-yuan, standing nearby, reacted completely differently. His eyes flashed with wild joy as he dropped to the ground like a dog, grabbing the slammy spoiled meat and shoving it into his mouth, not even sparing the bits that fell onto the sand. Then, he unscrewed the cap of the mineral water bottle and gulped it down as if it were the finest nectar. Don't waste it, honey. Eat quickly. Having something to eat is better than nothing. We have to survive first. As long as the green hills remain, there'll be no shortage of firewood. Endure hardships now, and 7 days is not too late for revenge. Song Wen-yuan mumbled vaguely as he tried to persuade her. He thought Su Xiaoya had suffered too much, which was why she was acting this way, so he picked through the items and handed her a relatively intact can. Seeing him act so servile and submissive, Su Xiaoya completely broke down. She didn't understand, nor did she want to understand. She screamed hysterically, kicking Song Wen-yuan. You useless waste, you might as well have died there with the class monitor. 07, I sneered and closed the skylight, cutting off the unbearable curses and arguments from outside. Hearing that greasy baby from Song Wen-yuan's mouth, the last shred of fantasy I had about this teacher completely vanished. Back in school, I had a vague feeling that their relationship was inappropriate. Now it's clear they're birds of a feather, a sanctimonious hypocrite and a fickle, snobbish woman, truly a match made in heaven. I leaned back in the chair, closed my eyes, and felt a deep, undisturbed calm within. I don't need to feel the slightest bit of pity for this despicable pair. Everything they suffer is well deserved. This tranquility didn't last long. That afternoon, at the other end of the beach, uninvited guests appeared once again, a massive crowd of survivors. Among them seemed to be the few who had narrowly escaped yesterday. They had clearly come to avenge their companions. It's just that the dense horde of zombies on the beach, like a natural barrier, made them hesitant to approach easily. They could only linger in the distance, ultimately directing their hateful gazes towards Song Wen-yuan and Su Xiaoya. It's you. The two of you are the ones who got our brothers killed. One of the survivors, seeing the shotgun tightly held in Su Xiaoya's hands, immediately recognized them. Song Wen-yuan trembled and tried to pull Su Xiaoya away to escape, but Su Xiaoya shook him off, her eyes darting around before she pointed at me inside the bus and shouted loudly, "It wasn't us, it was him. He killed your brothers. Go in and get your revenge. There are lots of supplies in this bus, food, water, medicine. All the good stuff is in there." She was a master at diverting trouble onto others. Upon hearing this, the survivors were tempted, but when they looked at my fortress-like bus and the dense crowd of zombies around, their faces showed signs of hesitation. "Boss, this car is tough to handle, that guy is too ruthless, and there are too many zombies, we can't get through." The survivor leader thought for a moment and made a decision. He glared viciously at my boss, then glanced at the distant abandoned pier and sneered, "No rush. A boat will arrive at the pier soon. We'll wait right here. When he comes out, it'll be his death. By then, the vehicle and supplies will all be ours." The survivors discussed for a while and eventually decided to set up camp in a rocky area not far from me, where there were fewer zombies. "Are you all cowards? The enemy is right in front of you. What are you afraid of?" Su Xiaoya's cursing continued, but the survivors remained unmoved. She and Song Wenyuan, dragging their exhausted bodies, hid in a cave near the bus. While sharing the trash I had thrown to them, they whispered to each other. 10 minutes later, Su Xiaoya sneaked over to the side of the bus. I couldn't resist lifting the curtain to see what she was doing, but I couldn't spot her anywhere. I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination, but the bus seemed to be sinking. Glancing at the rearview mirror, my heart sank. 08 at night. Su Xiaoya's voice reached my ears. "Antidote serum. They must have the antidote serum." Su Xiaoya suddenly trembled all over and started walking towards the survivors' camp. The homeroom teacher quickly grabbed her. "Are you crazy? Those people have lost their humanity. We barely managed to escape. What are you going there for?" Su Xiaoya burst into tears and shouted loudly, "What do you know, you useless fool? We've been infected with the zombie virus. Even if we go back to school, we'll die. I'll go with them. I'll sleep with them. I'm sure I can exchange that for the antidote serum. Once I get the serum, I'm definitely going to kill that bitch Chen Chang." It seems Su Xiaoya also saw the barrage comments. The homeroom teacher tried desperately to stop her. "Medical technology is so advanced now. How could it be that the disease is incurable? Listen to me. If we just hold on until we get back to school, everything will be fine." His voice trembled as he spoke. "The squad leader is already dead. If anything happens to you, how am I supposed to explain it to the school?" However, Su Xiaoya was completely ungrateful. She shook off Song Wenyuan and snapped, "Then go die. You're useless and only hold me back." With that, she walked toward the survivors' camp without looking back. "Hey, old man," Su Xiaoya shouted loudly, forcing a nauseatingly flirtatious smile on her face, even beginning to tear at her tattered clothes to reveal festering skin. "I don't want to die. You have the anti-serum. Right, I'll trade my body for it. Just give me the serum, and I'll be your bitch." The survivors burst into a lewd chorus of laughter. The leader eyed her with a lustful gaze, waved his hand, and two men stepped forward with sinister grins, dragging Su Xiaoya, who had offered herself, into the camp as if she were livestock. Soon, tender, impassioned cries could be heard coming from the camp. Song Wenyuan slumped to the ground in despair, his eyes filled with hopelessness. He watched the darling he had once tried so hard to please, who, in order to survive, was even willing to sell her own body. I watched all of this coldly, feeling not the least bit surprised. Su Xiaoya had always been the kind of person who would do anything for personal gain. After thinking for a moment, I opened the car's sunroof and waved to Song Wenyuan. "Teacher Song, do you want to live?" Song Wenyuan suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with a desperate desire to survive. "Yes, I do." "Excellent." I opened the storage compartment, took out a pack of chicken legs and a can of cola, and said, "Help me with one thing. If you do it well, these are yours, and I promise to save a spot for you when the lifeboat arrives." Song Wenyuan nodded repeatedly. On the other side, Su Xiaoya got her wish and moved into the survivors' camp. She might have truly received the so-called serum, but the price was being brutally assaulted by those men and then discarded at the camp entrance like a broken toy. She went completely mad, wandering in front of the camp every day, staring at my bus with venomous eyes. At midnight on the 7th day, the moment of return finally arrived. The sky was filled with howling winds and pouring rain. The crimson barrage appeared right on time. "The lifeboat is approaching. Please head to the abandoned dock immediately, due to magnetic field interference. All zombies on the island have entered a dormant state. Now's the time." I turned the key sharply, the engine roared to life, and the headlights pierced through the rain, illuminating the muddy road leading to the dock. Almost simultaneously, I saw dozens of survivors in the rearview mirror, sprinting toward me. "Ha ha, Chen Chang, you think you can leave? Not that easy." Su Xiaoya let out a shrill laugh. "I already slashed all your tires. Let's die together." The next second, her laughter froze. Instead of breaking down, the bus roared forward with an unstoppable momentum. How could this be? Her face was filled with disbelief. I let out a cold laugh. As early as the night when Song Wenyuan and I struck the deal, he had already secretly repaired everything under the cover of darkness, using the tools and spare tire I had thrown out. The survivor blocking the way was mercilessly knocked aside by me as the bus charged wildly through the mud. "Traitor, Song Wenyuan, you traitor." Su Xiaoya snapped back to reality and lunged at Song Wenyuan in a rage, opening her mouth to bite his neck. A flash of determination crossed Song Wenyuan's eyes as he kicked Su Xiaoya in the chest, sending her to the ground and leaving her to be trampled by the crowd behind. Qin Chang, wait for me, you said you would take me with you. Song Wenyuan chased after my car, shouting frantically. I didn't break my promise, I said. I'll save a spot for you, but I never said it was a spot in the car. I had no time to care about his screams, gripping the steering wheel tightly as I sped toward the faint lights of the pier. Just as I rushed into the pier, a dull thud came from under the car. I knew that the unwilling man was clinging to my chassis like a maggot. It doesn't matter anymore. I slammed on the accelerator, charging recklessly all the way. In a daze, the pier appeared ahead, and before I could hit the brakes, I plunged headfirst into the sea. I don't know how much time had passed. When I opened my eyes again, a beeping sound reached my ears, and blinding fluorescent lights flooded my entire field of vision. My feet instinctively stretched out, and my hands lifted as if to turn the steering wheel, but was pressed down. A faint sound of talking reached my ears, and I strained to listen, but couldn't make out the words clearly. Consciousness faded once again. 09. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a hospital bed. I'm back. The nurse told me that I and another man were found by fishermen on the beach, lying in an empty lifeboat. By the way, the man who was brought in with you is severely injured and is still in the intensive care unit. I'm afraid he might become a vegetable. I understood in my heart. Song Wenyuan risked clinging to the underside of the car. It was a miracle he wasn't instantly torn to pieces. Becoming a vegetable was, in fact, a stroke of luck amid such misfortune. A few days later, I went to the neighboring ward to visit Song Wenyuan. He was covered in tubes, with only his eyes still able to move. When he saw me, those clouded eyes were filled with a mix of anger and regret. It makes sense, after all the hardships, to come back. I thought after enduring for so long, returning to school would allow me to show my true colors. I never expected to end up in this wretched state. No one could possibly accept this. His mouth opened and closed as if he wanted to say something, but all that came out were hoarse, guttural sounds. I know he was begging me to use the family's money to save him. I just watched him quietly, then pretended not to understand anything, turned around, and left. I clearly remember, on a certain sunny afternoon, he pointed at my nose and sneered, "What's so great about having money? Who cares about your stinking cash? As you wish, teacher Song." For the sudden appearance of me and my vegetative homeroom teacher, as well as the disappearance of all the female students in the class, the police conducted multiple rounds of interviews with me, but I consistently insisted that I had lost my memory. The police found no other leads and ultimately had to close the case as unsolved. 10. After being discharged from the hospital, there were still 2 weeks left until graduation. Regarding Song Wenyuan, the school, out of humanitarian concern, donated some medical expenses to him. However, because he took students to an undeveloped deserted island without authorization, which was a serious violation of rules, his teaching qualifications were revoked, and he had to bear most of the expenses himself. The school transferred me to the neighboring class, and the new homeroom teacher was very kind. With her help, I made up for the professional credits that Song Wenyuan had maliciously deducted, and I graduated successfully. After graduation, I officially took over the family business. That experience on the deserted island quickly matured me into a decisive and ruthless businessperson. About a month later, I received a call from the police saying that a girl suspected to be the missing person, Su Xiaoya, had been found in a psychiatric hospital in a neighboring city, and they needed me to go identify her. I made time to go there. In the ward filled with the smell of disinfectant, I saw her. I don't know how she escaped from that hellish deserted island, but at this moment, her mind has completely shattered. Clearly, the experience of obtaining the serum from those survivors had completely destroyed the last shred of her sanity. She huddled in the corner, and when she saw me, she would only giggle foolishly, mechanically repeating one phrase, "Come and play, gentlemen, Xiaoya is a little bitch." Come and play, gentlemen. After overhearing a bit, I suggested to the police that she be transferred to the nursing home where Song Wenyuan was staying, so the two lovers could be reunited, and I, too, am about to embark on a brand new life. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window in my office, looking down at the bustling city traffic below. The shadows of the past have been completely dispelled by the sunlight of reality, like mist clearing from an island. From now on, my life will be free and bright.